Memorial services are being held across the country today to honor 9/11 victims. What the new memorial in Pennsylvania has to honor victims. DNA genealogy testing kits are a fun way for people to learn more about their family history. But for one local woman, it led to a big revelation and family reunion. And in sports, Ohio football's away game against UVA has a new location for this weekend. Newswatch starts right now.
Broadcasting live from WOUB TV in Athens, this is Newswatch.
Another person is charged in the case of an Athens County man's death. Good evening, I'm Maddie Young. An Athens County grand jury indicted a total of 5 people in the investigation of Chris Meadows' death. Meadows' body was found in an unmarked grave last Tuesday. Ronald Smith, William Melham, and Benjamin Cochran were charged with aggravated murder and kidnapping, along with other charges. James Pascal, who was accused of burying the body, was charged with gross abuse of a corpse and tampering of evidence. Meadows' girlfriend, Cheyenne Hawley, was also indicted with tampering of evidence. They will be arraigned September 19th. A suspect has been identified for the murder of a mother with 4 children. George C. Cooper Jr. of Logan was charged with the alleged murder of his wife, Mary J. Cooper. He is currently being held in Southeastern Ohio Regional Jail. Cooper will be arraigned later this week in Hocking County Municipal Court. If convicted, George Cooper could receive more than 11 years in prison and a higher fine. The 9/11 Interfaith Peace Walk is being held tonight. The 8th annual walk starts at 7 p.m. It begins in front of the Episcopal Church of the Good Shepherd and ends with the candlelight vigil and song at the Islamic Center of Athens. Students of Wolf Creek local schools in Marietta will now have Chromebooks. The school will complete its Technology for Students program after an anonymous gift of $100,000. It will allow the district to provide 1 device for each grade, 7 to 12, and a 25-device cart for each grade in the elementary school. Marietta might reach minor flood stage on the Ohio River tonight, but tomorrow morning it could reach 36 feet. Continuing rains on Monday caused some schools to close early. The prospect of a hurricane will send more perception towards the mid-Ohio Valley. Now we're going to throw it over to our weather center with Nicholas Snyder to discuss if the hurricane is going to affect Athens.
Well, the hurricane will not quite affect us, but we'll get to that in a minute. But first, it is just gorgeous out there right now. Temperatures are in the upper 60s, 67 in Athens, cloudy. It's very fall-like out there, and all across the area we're seeing much of the same weather. The only thing you could ask for, a more perfect day, a little bit more sunshine, but that's okay. 68 in Columbus, 68 in Newark, 67 in Cambridge, 70 in New Martinsville, 70 in Marietta. The warm spot, 72 down in Ironton, all under mainly cloudy skies. Just gorgeous out there, but this gorgeous fall-like weather will not last. We have overnight fog coming in tonight as we have a much more humid night tonight, but a major warm-up is coming with an area of high pressure, and rain will return for the beginning of next week. We'll talk all about that coming up in my full forecast in the next couple of minutes. But Maddie, it was sure good while it lasted, this fall-like weather.
Thanks, Nicholas. Race oftentimes is a hard topic to discuss, but an encounter with a woman brought to light what truly matters and showed that race was in fact skin deep. Diamond June tells us more about the Tabler family reunion.
They say there is a little bit of everything in all of us, which couldn't be truer for Rose Tabler Burnham. Burnham found out that she was partially black 14 years ago through an ancestry DNA test. She talks about her discovery.
My husband and I went on Ancestry, and looking through it, we found a picture of David Butcher admiring a picture of his I believe it's 4-great-grandfather. And I looked at it and I said, if that's his grandfather, great-great-grandfather, he's my grandfather, then I said, we're cousins.
Soon after uncovering the truth, Burnham and her husband set out to meet Butcher and other family members who offered her this advice.
Hold it against your father for keeping you from us. But he said he was trying to protect her.
Although she understood the reason behind the lies, she felt as though she was cheated.
I hold it against him, but I said, I feel like I was cheated out of my family. And I said, I'm going to get to know my family.
Most DNA testing that is offered to the public require you to buy a kit from the agency. Depending on the kit you are given, you will either spit in a tube or swab your cheek, but DNA testing can only go so far. To really dig into your family history requires more research.
Southeast Ohio History Center can help individuals find out where they come from, and getting help from a genealogist isn't a bad idea either.
The best way of finding out your ancestry, for me, in my opinion, is to do the basic genealogy. And that is start with yourself and what you know about yourself. And then you start with your parents and what you know about your parents. And you do documentation like marriage records, birth records, funeral records, death records, military records, and you take information from those documents and you connect the dots.
Since getting her DNA results, Burnham and her family have been coming together every August and late September for the Tabler family reunion. At the family reunion, Burnham describes the experience with her family as a good old time, while celebrating what brings them together instead of focusing on what separates them.
To realize that the color of the skin doesn't make any difference in a person. We're all human beings, we're all God's creation, and we all have a soul.
Despite all the challenges, Burnham still hopes to spread the message of love. She wrote 2 books, Journey of the Past, which talks about her family history, and another which is faith-based. 2 Cleveland children are safe in custody after an Amber Alert was issued. Police say the children were taken from their home by their mother after their father was killed. The children were ages 4 and 8. Officials say Ariel Bryant shot Richard Kelly, and Kelly was found dead last night with multiple gunshot wounds. A community is searching for a boy who went missing after falling into a storm drain. Police and volunteers in Rowan County, Kentucky have been looking for him since Sunday. Officials believe the 8-year-old was swept by fast-moving waters. The boy fell into a tributary of the Triplet Creek. The community held a vigil for his last night. Ohio judges will rule on whether medical staffers should be allowed to testify in a teen mother's murder case. Police say Brooke Richardson killed and buried her newborn baby near her family's house. Richardson's attorneys want to bar prosecutors from presenting medical staff testimony, citing physician-patient privilege. Prosecutors say it does not apply to this case. A West Virginia needle exchange program has no plans to restart. Kanawha Charleston Health Department Board President Brenda Isaac told the Charleston Gazette-Mail the program won't be reinstituted. The department suspended it in March over concerns about increased needle litter and other issues. Isaac says the program won't be reinstated no matter who's elected Charleston's mayor in November. Today marks the 17th anniversary of the September 11th terror attacks. A new memorial honors the passengers who were killed on the hijacked flight that crashed into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Today was the official dedication of the Tower of Voices. The Tower of Voices stands tall at 93 feet at the entrance of the park. Chimes inside represent each one of the passengers and crew members on board.
The winds carried their voices, and that made this always a living, breathing memorial. So to have these chimes put their voices in a pure sound that will always be here, their presence is alive, and it's important.
8 out of the 40 chimes are currently installed in the Tower of Voices. The rest are expected to be added later this fall. We'll continue coverage on the 9/11 memorial services across the country. How the victims were honored, next.
It's been 8 long months, folks, but your patience has paid off. I'm Blake Baker, host of our special 20th season, here to say football is back, and we have never been more excited. Each week, our crew will have fresh highlights and all the history you can handle. But we also need a few things from you. First, watch our show. We go live at 11:30 Friday nights and air again Saturdays at 11 a.m. Next, connect with us online. Our Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, and website are your best resources for daily content. And always remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
I'm such a huge fan of PBS. For my entire life, it's been our window into a world of the arts that isn't available anywhere else on TV. We learn about our numbers and our letters and singing through music, through the incredible children's programming they have. And then we grow up and we get to see the world of the arts, whether it's ballet or opera or Broadway, and so many other amazing moments that you wouldn't get anywhere else except for PBS.
I loved Ken Burns' series on the Civil War. It was deeply impacting. I love history. To have those stories told through these letters, through stories of love and loss, it rewrote the book on how to tell a story. When television was invented, there were a lot of people who had dreams about what it could do. I think PBS still aspires for and often succeeds at reaching the highest ideals of what television could be.
Memorials honoring 9/11 victims were held across the country today. Natasha Chin shows us how each memorial today reminded us to never forget.
My Uncle Martin Lizzle, we love you, we miss you.
In New York, at the Pentagon,
Staff Sergeant Madeline A. White,
and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
Flight Attendant C.C. Ross Lyles.
People read the names of nearly 3,000 loved ones who were killed 17 years ago on September 11th. President Trump honored the passengers and crew of United 93.
We remember the moment when America fought back.
The 40 people on that flight learned other planes had crashed into the Twin Towers and the Pentagon and voted to fight the hijackers. They took control of the plane and forced it down into a Pennsylvania field. Investigators later learned the hijackers intended to target the U.S. Capitol or the White House.
America will never forget.
The phrase never forget becomes even more important on this anniversary, considering today's teenagers were born after 9/11. Vice President Mike Pence underscored that message at the Pentagon, saying these ceremonies are meant to honor the victims, but also to ensure each succeeding generation knows what happened and why.
We must learn the lessons of 9/11 and remain ever vigilant in the defense of our nation and our people.
Former Pennsylvania Governor Mark Schweiker said we must tell their story.
When you do, tell everyone it was here that freedom took its dramatic stand.
In Washington, I'm Natasha Chen.
Hurricane Florence might be the strongest storm to hit the Carolinas in decades. How officials are preparing for the damage, that story is still ahead.
And for our weather, it was beautiful today, but there is a warm-up in store. We'll talk all about that coming up on my full forecast. But first, a look at stocks of local interest.
WOUB is member-supported public television. Your contribution keeps WOUB available in your community. Become a member with a gift of $60 or more for access to stream more than 1,000 of your favorite PBS programs through WOUB Passport. Programs like Nature, Sherlock, and all episodes of Downton Abbey and Victoria. Pledge now at WOUB.org. And thank you.
I love PBS because at the heart of everything PBS does is education.
I use PBS not only in my home, but also in my classroom.
It's kind of the idea of being the great equalizer for learning and for education.
I'm a lifelong learner, and PBS has always been part of that journey for me.
I love PBS because PBS supports teachers.
They know what works for kids and what's best for kids, and that's why I love PBS.
PBS had a special on Pearl Harbor, and once Landon started watching the show about the Arizona, he completely became fascinated.
That's Donald Stratton, and that's me.
And then his Christmas wish this year was to meet Donald Stratton, one of the survivors from the Arizona.
So good to see you, buddy.
Everything that Landon has learned from PBS, it's immeasurable.
This is for you.
Thank you, big guy.
He is living proof of the effect that PBS has had on his life.
Hurricane Florence is barreling towards the central East Coast. By the time it hits, it could be monstrous. Category 5 President Trump has declared state of emergency in North Carolina. Omar Jimenez is in Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, where many are preparing to evacuate.
Hurricane Florence is the strongest storm to target the Carolinas in this part of our country in decades. This storm is not a glancing blow. This storm is going to be a direct hit.
Officials not mincing words Tuesday as they implore those living in the path of Florence to get prepared and get out.
I ordered the evacuation, the mandatory evacuation, because we're not going to gamble with a single South Carolina life.
More than 1 million people in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia were under mandatory evacuations Tuesday, including the entire 187-mile stretch of coastline in South Carolina.
We've reversed the lanes. 4 of the main highways coming from the coast will all be going in just one direction, away from the coast.
Even for those not directly along the coastline, heavy rain, flooding, and landslides are still serious concerns as the storm moves inland. Residents there are stocking up on things like generators, food, and water as they prepare to hunker down.
We will experience power outages. We will have infrastructure damage. There will be homes damaged. There will be debris on the roads. This will be a storm that creates and causes massive damage to our country.
It was just a gorgeous day out there today. Hi everybody, I'm forecaster Nicholas Snyder. We'll talk about Florence in a minute, but first, current weather, 67 degrees, cloudy, very fall-like. Winds are relatively calm all across the area. We're seeing much of the same weather. 68 in Columbus, 68 in Newark, 67 in Cambridge, 70 in New Martinsville and Marietta, 67 down in Ripley, a nice warm 72 for the warm spot down in Ironton, 68 in Jackson and Chillicothe, all under mainly cloudy skies. The only way you could ask for a more perfect day today was more sunshine. It was just that beautiful. It's all due to an area of high pressure, which is not showing up, being blocked by this little graphic up here, but there's an area of high pressure bringing some cold air down from Canada. That's what's kept the fall-like weather overhead, as well as the stationary front. Once that cold front went on through, it really cooled us off from last week when we saw those temperatures in the 90s. No more of that. We'll get to later on in the week in a second, but first let's get you through tonight. 67 at 8, 63 at 10, 61 at 12. We have some fog moving in. It's going to be a relatively humid night, so watch out for some patchy valley fog as you're going out and about. Also bring a jacket. It's going to be relatively cool, 61 degrees by midnight if you're staying out and about that late. 57 tonight, mainly cloudy, patchy valley fog. Winds will be relatively calm. The fog will generally form after midnight along the Ohio River Valley, the Muskingum River Valley, the Scioto River Valley, and of course the Hocking River Valley. But it's just going to be a great night to leave those windows open. Great sleeping weather. 61 in Columbus, 59 in Newark, 59 in Cambridge, 62 over in New Martinsville, 58 in Marietta, 61 in Ripley, 57 here in Athens, 65 the warm spot in Jackson, 60 down in Ironton, and 59 in Chillicothe. Watch out for that patchy fog, mainly cloudy skies elsewhere as we go throughout the night. Morning planner tomorrow, fog burns off around 8 a.m. We start you off in the lower 60s by 10 a.m. We'll warm you up back into the middle 60s at 66 by noon. 71 back into the 70s, warming up, and this is a precursor for what's going to happen later on this week. 81 tomorrow as that high pressure moves off to the south. It's going to pump up some warm and moist air from the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. Fog early, warmer tomorrow. Winds will be calm out of the south all across the area. Just another perfect day. 77 in Columbus and Newark and in Cambridge. 80 in New Lexington. 81 here in Athens. 79 in Marietta and New Martinsville. 84 in Ripley. 84 down in Ironton. Those are the warm spots. 82 in Jackson. 78 in Chillicothe. Mainly sunny to partly sunny skies as you go all throughout the day tomorrow. Okay, so here's the precipcast for tomorrow. That high pressure is going to move off to the south. What's going to happen there? We have a clockwise flow around the high pressure. It's going to bring up the warm, moist air from down here and down here up into our area, and that's going to bring much warmer temperatures, especially Thursday into Friday. Here's Hurricane Florence, Category 4 storm when it makes landfall. Make sure if you have any friends and family down in North and South Carolina to get them out of there. Give them a call, give them a text, tell them to get out of there because it is going to be a major hurricane. Luckily for us, those mountains are going to block it, so we're not going to see much rain from the remnants of the storm like we did with the remnants of Tropical Storm Gordon. Here's the extended forecast. Look at this warm-up for Thursday and Friday. 87 on Thursday, 86 on Friday. We cool you back into the lower 80s for the beginning of next week with rain possible from the remnants of Hurricane Florence. Again, just a slight chance, though. Nick?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nick Niehaus. Coming up, there's tons of Bobcat action. First, both OU golf teams teed it up on the course this weekend, and there are some major changes to this week's football matchup against Power 5 opponent Virginia. I'll give you the details why and more coming up next on Newswatch. And stay tuned to WOUB. Here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
It's been 8 long months, folks, but your patience has paid off. I'm Blake Baker, host of our special 20th season, here to say football is back, and we have never been more excited. Each week, our crew will have fresh highlights and all the history you can handle, but we also need a few things from you. First, watch our show. We go live at 11:30 Friday nights and air again Saturdays at 11 a.m. Next, connect with us online. Our Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, and website are your best resources for daily content. And always remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
I'm such a huge fan of PBS. For my entire life, it's been our window into a world of the arts that isn't available anywhere else on TV. We learn about our numbers and our letters and singing through music, through the incredible children's programming they have. And then we grow up and we get to see the world of the arts, whether it's ballet or opera or Broadway, and so many other amazing moments that you wouldn't get anywhere else except for PBS.
WOUB is member-supported public television. Your contribution keeps WOUB available in your community. Become a member with a gift of $60 or more for access to stream more than 1,000 of your favorite PBS programs through WOUB Passport. Programs like Nature, Sherlock, and all episodes of Downton Abbey and Victoria. Pledge now at WOUB.org. And thank you.
Welcome back, I'm Nick Niehaus. Some breaking news to start off. The OU football team was set to face off against the Virginia Cavaliers in Charlottesville, but due to the threat of Hurricane Florence, they have moved that Saturday game to Nashville, Tennessee. Kickoff for the game is at 4:30 Eastern, and broadcast information is still being determined. This is just the second meeting between these two teams, and first since 1993. Virginia won that game 41-7. Head coach Frank Solich isn't worried about the score of that game, however. He's already had to face difficult decisions such as pulling starting quarterback Nathan Rourke for backup junior Quentin Maxwell. But Solich knows that he's going to have some difficult decisions on simply how to prepare for Virginia on Saturday.
They are a complicated football team to get ready to play on really both sides of the ball. If you look at them offensively, they're able to run an approach where they'll spread some guys out and be a typical offense that you see in this day and age of football. And yet they can give you a heavy dose of the option game. And it can be with three backs. It can be with motion, causing you to have to adjust to try to stop the option game.
Moving to golf, the OU men's golf team was in action this weekend at the Joe Feganes Marshall Invitational, and although they finished at the middle to the bottom of the pack, senior Ben Sadler accomplished something that everybody wants to do, but not everyone gets the chance to execute: a hole-in-one. Sadler aced a 148-yard par 3, number 6 at Guyan Golf and Country Club. He finished that round with a 3 under 68, tying his career best. Other Bobcats with notable performances: Tanner Johnson. He had his best career round with a 70 and was tied at 21st overall individually. So the men played today, but the women's golf team finished yesterday at the Firebird Invitational at Weebring Golf Club hosted by Illinois State. The Bobcats as a team shot a 3-round 62 over 926, planting them at 6th place. Senior Emily Hughes was leading the Bobcats and even shot the tournament low round of 71. Her two-day total score of 225 finished her at 9th place overall individually. Nicole Smiley finished with 17th place with a 12 over 228, and freshman Catherine Loftus finished her first tournament at 34th place with a 20 over 236. The Bobcats' next tournament is just a week away in the Cardinal Classic, hosted by Ball State. Moving to professional baseball, the Cincinnati Reds hosted the Los Angeles Dodgers last night and routed them in a 10-6 victory for the Reds. Second baseman Scooter Gennett had himself a night at the plate, going 4 for 5, scoring twice and driving in 3 runs. Reliever Jared Hughes got the victory, going 1.2 innings with 0 hits allowed. They face off again tonight at 7:10. The other pro team in Ohio was in action last night, but in Florida. The Indians traveled to Tampa to take on the Rays and had the lead up until the 9th inning when Ji-Man Choi rocked a 2-run walk-off home run to give the Rays the victory. These two teams face off again tonight. Shane Bieber is on the mound for the Tribe, and Tyler Glasnow is on the hump for the Rays. I'm Nick Niehaus, and that's it for sports. Back to you, Maddie.
Thanks, Nick. Here's a question. Is Pluto a planet or not? Some astronomers claim Pluto should be a planet based on new research. In 2006, the International Astronomical Union downgraded Pluto to a dwarf planet. Philip Metzger, a planetary scientist at the University of Central Florida, argues the reason Pluto lost its planet status is not valid. He reviewed scientific literature from the past 200 years, and Metzger found only one publication from 1802 using clearing orbit requirement to classify planets. He says the publication was based on since-proven reasoning.
Hi everybody, I'm forecaster Nicholas Snyder. Tomorrow it's just going to be another gorgeous day. 81, fog early, much warmer than today was though. Winds will be calm, mainly out of the south. All across the area, same beautiful weather. 77 in Columbus, in Newark, in Cambridge. Mainly the temperatures will be in the upper 70s and lower 80s. But look at this warm up in store for Thursday and Friday, 87 and 86. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.